Hey y'all, welcome back to the Body Space. I know we haven't done one of these in a couple of weeks here, but I have another guest today, Sean Jacobs. He's an amazing, another nervous system conscious strength, high performance coach and trainer. So we're going to talk a little bit today about his story on how he came to bring so much consciousness of the nervous system into the way that he coaches and trains. But I'd first like to let him introduce him a little bit. What you do that, what you do, who you coach, what it's like.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation we're about to have. We are very similar in a lot of respects, but I'm a strength coach through and through. I've been an athlete my whole life. I love the gym. I love fitness and pushing myself. And I work with clients who have complex movement problems that they need to solve. And I know you are very similar in this respect. We go through a certain journey on your own right to get to a point where we know the nervous system is heavily involved in creating new and better movement patterns. So that's what I help people do: restore joint motion, better movement patterns, getting back to the things they love. And that can be picking your kids up off the floor or running a track meet at 40 years old. Whatever you want to do, we can do it. But we have to respect the body and the mind and those connections. And that starts with the nervous system.
Heck yeah. Yeah. And we talked a little bit before we hopped on just about, excuse me, the industry as a whole, especially the fitness industry on Instagram, and how little it's becoming more now, but how little like nervous system consciousness there is among the training industry. And the bar is pretty low when it comes to training certification. And unfortunately, for most of us, we don't know what we don't know, and we aren't going to be pushed into educating ourselves deeply on something like the nervous system until we go through a process with our own bodies that essentially
Yeah.
forces us into it, right? So this is what I talk about on my page, on the podcast a ton. This concept of what I call body-led forced surrender, which essentially is a season of our lives. It's usually not one thing. It can feel like it has been set off by something specific, like a car accident or whatever it is. But it's a full on stress bucket overflow that the nervous system then responds to, becomes sensitized, injury, chronic pain, unexplained chronic symptoms, all of the things that erupt in that place. I know you have your own story with your season of body-led forced surrender. But I'd first love to ask you, like, let's take us through the old identity. Like, who was Sean before that? What kind of trainer were you, if you were a trainer? What was your relationship with your body and with movement and with like doing and high performing?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I my comfort zone is pushing myself and sports and athletics. I've been an athlete my whole life. Played college football, ran track, and then I think a lot of us former athletes go through this journey where we leave the athletic world and we just enjoy competing, and it becomes competition with yourself versus competing with others. And so a lot of people will go into the gym and take that realm of movement a little bit more serious. So shifting more from like athletic performance to bodybuilding. Like, let me see what I can do. Let me lift some weights, gain some muscle, just become a little bit better performer in the weight room. And that's really what my journey and my transition was. But it started from a place of just really being in tune with my body and being able to do things that I wanted to do, and sprint fast, jump far, play receiver, and be really good in that, right? Always being the one to demonstrate the exercises for the team and just having that level of confidence. And so it was really important to me that I took that level of seriousness and legitimacy to the gym, and just started taking that seriously. And that led me to eventually change careers and go back to get a master's degree in exercise science on top of my undergraduate, which was psychology. So the journey of kind of bringing the mind and the body together started really early for me, because I love human behavior and relationships and personal connections. And I think all these things are really important, but those things are benefited by a better connection to yourself. And so I've got a lot of things that kind of weave together to create this journey for me, but that's where it started.
I love that. I love that combination too, and it's fun for me to connect with people that like I feel like from the moment we connected on Instagram like 3 weeks ago, we were both
Yep.
like, yeah, you get it.
Yep.
We have something similar going on. And it's really similar for me too. Like when I entered college, for me, it was like, I want to study biology. I want to study psychology and art. So like for me, it was like combining like the art of it with that. But it's interesting to
Yeah.
say, see that you have the exercise science with the psychology. my story is a little different. I was like biological anthropology, so I was looking at like bones, human evolution of like
Cool.
biology,
Okay.
and also like the way that humans relate and emote. And I was studying a lot of psychology with that.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
it's really cool to like when you connect with someone that is in this training world, but they have this other element to them, to then realize like, oh yeah, you're kind of like a Renaissance person or like a polymath. Like you have always had this desire to integrate the behavior with the biomechanics, with the way that humans interact in groups and make art and culture. And it's just really cool for me to be like, ah, that makes sense. That's a thread for us.
I
Yeah.
agree, and I think there's a lot of this is a growing area, and it's an understanding of the importance that the human is the number one variable in the program, and you have to look at that human through a biopsychosocial lens. You have to include all of those things, and so it's become a buzzword, just like CrossFit was 5 years ago, right? But now it's actually like that this biopsychosocial model can help CrossFit people or bodybuilders or anybody, right? It's the basis of all of our interaction with life and movement.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. So well framed. So well framed. Cool. But to continue back to your story, right? So you identified as being like a high athletic performer, someone who was like really used to pushing your body to the limit. I think a lot of people identify with being that kind of person pretty much immediately before their season of body-led forced surrender, which is not a mistake. So tell us about that. Tell us about that stress bucket overflow and how your body spoke to you.
So it was kind of a slow burn in that transition I already mentioned, switching careers, going back to grad school. And if you've ever, obviously we have our high school classes that were like, why am I in algebra? I hate math, whatever it is. But you get into a field you really enjoy, and I'm like, I'm getting a 4.0 in this class, these classes, because I absolutely love this content. I'm soaking it up. I got to get really good. I want this to be my career. So I'm taking my academics really seriously. Also working a couple jobs, trying to pay bills and just live while being a student, and grad school, which is another level. And then, you get to a point where you have an internship that's at 4 a.m. because it's on training floors and you're learning, right? So you couple all those things together with the carryover of my, I won't say bad habits, but neglecting my well-being as an early 20s. We're going in, I'm the oldest guy in these master's classes anyway, at like 27, 28, but I'm still ending my hospitality shifts with going out drinking. And then before I go to my hospitality shift, I hit the gym like a 20-year-old athlete, but it's 8 years later. And I just ended up literally, like you said, overflowing the stress bucket in so many ways, but it's not necessarily something you can see from the outside. It's what I was feeling on the inside. It really started to make me question what was going on, because I was shredded and jacked out of my mind. Like if you look at me versus then, and you're like, dude, he's so much better shape than you are, even though I'm in great shape now, arguably the best I've ever been for different reasons. But I was like 4 or 5% body fat, super low cal, trying to stay shredded. Obviously that's killing my nervous system recovery right there. But no sleep, drinking. I developed a heart palpitation because of all those things accumulating. And then I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that. And I'm just dealing with brain fog, fatigue. Even though I look great, I didn't feel great. Started running my blood work before I was 30. And, my cardiologist is saying you might have heart failure if you keep down this path with too much caffeine, drinking, and just bad recovery. But also my blood work was just crashed hormones. And it's like, do I want to get on TRT as a 28-year-old? Absolutely not. I want to figure this out from the inside out. Right. Yeah. And so I started that long journey of like, let me get the big rocks of nutrition, sleep, and getting the blood work the right way. And you go to tons of doctors who don't understand what's going on and are just giving you blanket protocols, and you kind of have to figure it on your own. So that part of my journey of essentially getting rid of my heart palpitation and getting my testosterone back up naturally to 800 plus, arguably now 10 years later, that took like 4 or 5 years. So that was a huge transition for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you said something interesting about like, not to have a whole conversation, like knocking the medical industry, but it's similar to the training world. Like in the training world, we have in any world, there's a real difficulty with integration and looking at the fullness of the human in front of you. And I think that's a huge issue everywhere because we've been taught to view things separately, but that frustration of anytime that we have something that really is like chronic stress or like nervous system led, doctors are very ill equipped most of the time to actually handle that or understand how to direct us. And I also think there's it's kind of a tangent, but we're here for that. there's kind of a like expectation of what like health looks like. So like you're lean, you're fit, you work out. There shouldn't be anything wrong with you. But like we're not supposed to as humans be that high performing all the time. We're not supposed to be that hard bodied. We're not probably supposed to be that lean. Like there are so many standards that we've built for what we think human optimization looks like that is just simply not actually what optimization looks like. And I know for me, like even when I was like out of my eating disorder years, I still was not eating enough though, and like it was obvious in my physiology. The number of doctors that never picked up on it, they were like, "Oh, you're exercising and eating well, good, keep doing that." Why do you think my cholesterol is over 300 at 27 years old? I don't think it's a concern. I think it's because my thyroid is so low and my hormones are so low. And I don't know if you had that cholesterol thing too, but but that's I was floored at how few doctors understood that because it took like a 5 minute deep dive into clinical data on anorexia to see that extremely elevated cholesterol is like a trend in eating disorders. And the last thing that you want to do is tell that person to like eat less or
Yeah.
less fat, for example, right? So
Yeah.
just kind of another little example of like not only do they not know how to help, but I'm wondering if there were ever moments where you were directed to do things that made it worse.
Yeah, 100%. That's a very good point. And that's, we're not, the medical industry is phenomenal, but if you talk to any, health professional outside of that realm, those doctors and those specialists are just that. They're specialized and they're siloed for acute issues. And what I was dealing with was a chronic issue. What you were dealing with was a chronic issue. And until you find that person who's maybe gone through something similar and dug deep enough to find answers that go beyond that, or find a functional practitioner that isn't so inundated with people who really need help that they can actually slow down and help you, you're not going to get those answers. And so, yeah, that's arguably why it took me 4 to 5 years instead of 4 to 5 months to really change those things. And, we talk about the stress bucket overflowing. We can't just stop life and pull everything out. It's not about getting rid of stress. It's about learning how to manage it better. And that's a longer journey than a lot of us want to give it credit for. We want to fix it in a few weeks and then go back to what we were doing before. And that's not how this process works. And I got to say, that's why our business has developed the way that it has, because I am the specialist when it comes to movement, biomechanics, biopsychosocial aspects of high performance. But my wife, Laura's had her own journey and gone through a lot of things personally for herself as well. But she is the other side of the equation. I'm everything training. She's everything nutrition, hormones, blood work, because we have so many clients that come to us, and you can't just look at someone through that thin sliver of high movement performance. It's like, what else is going on? What can we do and help you dig deeper? Because just having a health practitioner say like your blood work looks normal, it's like, I don't want to be normal. I don't feel normal. Help me understand this. Oh, well, it's all in your head, or I don't understand your condition, or you have blanket statements like IBS or things that just are a broad label. Right. All of the above. So it's like you have to look at everything. And that's where, I think that our business, which is literally just my wife and I, we bring something different to the table because it's a 2-on-1 coaching process, which most people need. Some people just do work with her, just work with me. But if you need it, we are here for that, because you absolutely need 2 specialists that can dive down these individual rabbit holes, but build a program that brings everything together for you as the individual, because it has to be fully individualized.
I love that. I love that you guys work together. I think that's fucking amazing. I think that's like the ideal way to run a business, actually. Is to have
I agree. It's very rare. We've worked 6 jobs together. It's very rare, but we work well together, and we were so proud of this business that we built, because it's what we needed 10 years ago, which is why we exist now, right? So it's a perfect example of what you're describing, and for the reason of this call, right?
Exactly. That's a real power couple energy too. Like I know a few friends that are like in business with their spouse, and like what a relationship accelerator too, right? Like because you have to like be navigating resolution and repair on all of these different potential areas.
Oh yeah.
And
it's a challenge, but it's worthwhile in my opinion. But I think it takes a special kind of person, and the relationship has to be there, and
totally.
It's worth doing if you're up for the challenge in all respects, right?
I can see that being an even more comprehensive level of care for your clients too. That is like perceived, because I think a huge part of this process too is when people are coming to you with chronic unsafety in the nervous system, it's not just like, what are we going to do? It's, do they feel attuned to and understood by you in their conversations with you? Because a huge part of the dysregulation that a lot of the clients that I are coming to me are dealing with is feeling never fully understood or never fully heard. And not only that, because that can just happen anywhere in life, but by a practitioner or a trainer that you're working with, like blatantly being just disregarded in a level of individualized care. That's like, no, I actually told you that this causes pain. I actually told you that this causes flares. Or like just pushing them past a threshold that their system is obviously not there for. So it's not just, again, like, what are we doing? It's the feeling of like, this person has my back, and like having that in both of those buckets, being the like blood work hormone stuff and integrating that with the training, while also being in that gray area where you're not also like losing intensity, right? Losing
So
athletic.
hard to do. So
Yeah.
hard to do. Yeah.
And that kind of brings me into the third point, which is your story. We all go through a period after that initial stress bucket overflow where we oscillate, right? We take a break. We try to go back to the old way of doing. We fall on our face. We do that maybe over and over again until we finally learn a new way of doing things, which, as you said, is a much slower process than we want it to be. It comes with oscillation built in. It comes with flares built in. None of that is regression, but also we learn very quickly that we can't execute intensity in the same ways, obviously, but we can't stop using intensity either, because if we do that, we are further into collapse. So I'd love to hear more first on your story with that oscillation. How long were you going back and forth? What are the things that you tried? And then how that now informs the way that you work with other people.
Definitely. So it is a kind of a fluid transformation along the physiological side of things with the hormones and the heart palpitation. I realized I needed to change certain things with regards to intensity levels and pulling back things, raising calories, right? Like, I mean, my maintenance at that time when I was training was probably somewhere between 4,000 and 4,500 calories. And I was eating between 2,000 and 2,500, just not understanding how to find the right maintenance for myself and just staying too shredded. And nobody should stay stage lean. Like, everybody wants that look, but you have to respect the nervous system and your CNS in that recovery process. So I was like, all right, let me change my training up. Something's not working, because during that process of just not feeling like myself or feeling like I could perform at a high level, along with those health issues, my body just didn't feel good. And so I started changing up training and just trying everything. Just what's going to work for me? What's a system that I need to follow? Do I need to change a different training style? I need to get away from high performance athlete style or high intensity, heavy bodybuilding style. Okay, let me do mobility. Let me learn hip cars. Let me do knees over toes. Let me do, the beard, the best you can be mobility. Like, I did all of that stuff, and I still kept dealing with flare-ups. Like, I would feel better in the process, but then it's like, okay, I want to run again. Like, I'm a runner by nature. I've run my whole life. And so I'm like, all right, I've just been doing a lot of mobility stuff. Let me get back to running. Tweaked my Achilles. Thank goodness I didn't tear it, but I strained the hell out of it and was like, all right, I need to slow this down. I'm still not doing the right thing. And then I started knees over toes stuff, because I wanted to really work on the joint integrity of my foot, my ankle, and my knees, whatever it might be, the symptoms and hip flexor pinching and impingements. And, I was having some thoracic outlet here, and I started to develop a diastasis recti from like thinking, oh, it's core strength. It's hip strength and core strength. All right, let me crush those things. No, my ab wall started to separate. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And it literally was, I was chasing symptoms every step of the way. And I realized I was not digging deep enough to the system that underlies all of that, which is our one system of many systems. And so I kept exploring things in a way that like let me go deeper, finding practitioners and mentorships of people that I trusted, just that made sense to me, because I started to realize that the same things I was doing and focusing on for my heart palpitation and my hormone transformation, as far as listening to and leaning into the nervous system, it was directly parallel in the ways I was feeling that transformation over on that side was directly parallel to the kind of the movement things that some of these people were talking about, as far as breath work and the rib cage and the diaphragm. And like, I've been on my own personal journey, you know, for emotional intelligence and the psychology of understanding myself and getting to know me better. And, you know, our stages of life continue to go and we grow. But I was like, all right, I've been doing breath work and meditation for years now, and they're telling me that breath work can change the way that my ribs and pelvis are in control. And I can, you know, I just started diving down these rabbit holes, and it started to all make sense that the root of all of these things is the nervous system. And the only what's the word I'm looking for? The only vital sign that we can control is our respiratory rate through our breath. And the vagus nerve innervates the diaphragm, and that's directly connected to your ability to recover your nervous system and fluctuate, because we need fight or flight, but we don't need to get stuck there. So how can I push when I need to push? How can I melt when I need to melt? And for people coming from and can relate to my background, I know how to push. I can redline myself until I have a heart palpitation and I have a torn Achilles or whatever it is, right? I can do that. And that's my comfort zone. And so when people say, I love being uncomfortable. No, you don't. Uncomfortable for you is laying down and taking a deep breath. And you don't know what that truly means yet. You don't know what that means, right? So I had to go through that. I had to say, I understand this. I can comprehend this, but this style of focusing, or philosophy, I should say, of focusing on the body differently and still getting to high performance, but I need to understand this within my body. So I have to slow down, and I have to take the ego out of this. And I have to say, I'm okay with maybe losing a little bit of muscle definition and strength in this process. If I want to help myself and I want to help my clients, because I'm seeing the exact same patterns in everyone I'm working with, if I want to do this the way I want to do this, which is just like I was in master's program, I want to have a 4.0 in my expertise in my profession. I need to do this myself. And I started that process about 5 years ago. And I completely revamped the way I think about the human body. And I coach myself first, because if I can't feel it and I can't do it and I can't, understand what's going on interoceptively, then how am I going to ask anyone else to do that? So I always lean in introspection. I've always done that, but that's mind only, right? And so it's like, I have to have that mind-body connection with myself before I can coach somebody else on it. Yes. And it's the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, I mean, that was loaded. You said so many good things. First, the interoceptively part. I think whether we don't always know it consciously, but our bodies are picking up on whether the other person in front of us is like connected to their body, right? So those mirror neurons are firing, and if your clients need to be more regulated, then you need to embody that in order for their system to stand down.
I like that.
And like I kind of explain it that way: is the nervous system needs to be able to stand down. Like, not that we can't and don't need those sympathetic responses, but when we're having sympathetic responses to like every little thing, including intensity that's good for us, whether it's training, connection, sensation, emotion, even joy, right? Like, I think we forget that like the nervous system is responding to intensity and its perception of what is too much too quickly that we don't have the capacity for. That also means that not whether it's good or bad, right? So we're responding also to like positive things, right? And then you look at like attachment style and dating, and you're like, it's crazy. He ran away as soon as we were feeling really connected. I'm like, well, yeah, nervous system is having a response to the intensity of that sensation. And yet, he can go to the gym and fuck it up with weights. So I think this is a really important, and it goes both ways, right? Not like to make that into the guy side of things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I identify with you in where is the difference between tolerance and capacity. I think we put so much emphasis in health and fitness on people who are high tolerance, really lean, really fit, high output. But that being in that place does not actually mean that your nervous system has the capacity to actually be connected to it while you're doing all that. In fact, some of the highest performers have the lowest capacity in their nervous system, and those two truths are playing off of one another, right? So it's not just the body itself, it's also the identity shift that comes with like, how do you learn to soften, change the way you're doing things? Maybe you lose some muscle for a while. Maybe you gain some fat for a while. My story is very similar. Female end of things, hormones stopped, like had to just stop. But stopping training altogether made me feel worse. right? So I had to find this in between where it's like there is no way to not also go through a massive identity shift with this,
Agreed.
with how you view yourself and how you connect yourself, and the part of you that like needed to be performing at the highest degree all the time to like feel okay. You have to actually alter your relationship with that in order to put yourself in a position of being able to create the space to learn how to do it differently, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I think here, even outside of the, training pieces again, like the what are we doing on the physical training pieces, what has that identity shift been like for you? How has it hit other parts of your life? And how do you coach clients through that identity shift emotionally, physically?
It is so interconnected into everything that we do. It's made me into a completely different person that has more capacity within my own mind and body to slow myself down because I'm hyperactive. I'm enthusiastic on zero caffeine. Like I'm like the 13. I got a post that I just made recently where I'm like 39 going on 13 because I just feel young. And a part of that is the testament to really leaning into the big rocks of taking care of my body, and those things are non-negotiables for me. And I'm so glad if we're addicts, we're addicted to this kind of stuff, which I am,
Yeah.
constantly considering myself 40 years from now and what I want to feel like and be like. But I was able to return that youthful energy from the early teens of me being spastic all over the place. And I love that part of myself. And I lost that there for a while. But with that comes now a grounding within myself to respond differently in my environment. So when I say respond, it's a very specific choice of word because you can be spastic or be energetic and be reactive. And I
Mhm.
don't I was that way for a long time. And so I've seen my emotional intelligence and my self-awareness. I've seen that skyrocket in my ability to communicate with other humans and truly listen to what they're saying and give them a space to be themselves. And that's all I've ever wanted. And maybe you agree with that, right?
Totally.
Like, so being able to show up for your clients that way, I think that is a really, really important piece of just being a really good practitioner and respecting the biopsychosocial model and really getting your clients the service and the help that they need and the connection they need in a process that requires a lot from them, a lot more than just a normal macro plan and weightlifting program, right? So it's so much more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I first became a trainer, like what I loved about it was the relationships that I had with my clients. Like I liked being able to connect with them, especially in an environment which, especially for like a lot of women, was an uncomfortable environment. So like I was a bridge for them to feel comfortable in a space where they didn't feel comfortable. Um, because I was someone who embodied comfort in that space, and I knew what that felt like after a history of an eating disorder and just all of that, right? Um, I think so often people make the mistake of like, and it's coming from their own disconnection, I think, but we're always making a habit of like looking for the who's the most qualified, who's the best trainer, who's going to get me the fittest. Like we're looking for like the letters next to someone's name instead of looking for like, can I connect with this person? Because the person who's going to coach you is someone that your body needs to, your nervous system is going to have a relationship with their system. And that is part of your transformation, right? And I spent a long time, like over the last decade, like there were so many seasons of my life that I was like, I don't want to be a trainer anymore. I hate this. And it wasn't that I hated it, it was that I hated the way that the industry viewed things or simplified things or like surface level things. It was like I want to be able to connect to people on a deeper level. And I feel like if someone asks me like, what's your career? And I say, oh, a personal trainer. I feel like I'm telling them that I'm like a superficial piece of shit who only cares about being like jacked and like
I
hates,
agree.
hates fat people. And it's
I
like
agree.
that is not what it is at all. Like and that's probably the point at which I realized I'm already doing nervous system work. This is what I'm fucking doing. My client just had a response to being in the gym with the fluorescent lights and all the guys slamming weights, and we did breathing, and then we got back to it, and then we connected to her glute, and then we train her like an athlete so she can use the ball of her foot, and then she feels more connected to the whole chain, and that actually helps the nervous system because we get so pigeonholed on like only my left shoulder in the same way that we get pigeonholed on this one body sensation, this one thing that someone said, this one emotion that I'm feeling when I'm in a sympathetic state. Whereas if I can spread out and train my body to feel the body as a system, I'm going to have more capacity to get into parasympathetic and to handle sympathetic. So anyway, all that to say, um, it sounds like, and I know you've also done an excellent job like integrating this into what you're doing. So I'd love to hear now, like from that, what are your a few of your like main training and coaching philosophies that you've built out of this? I call it like the struggle, the power struggle that leads you into the new way of doing and the integration of all of this.
I think the most important idea is that you can do whatever you want to goal wise. And then these ideas that we're discussing, they can help anyone. And that sounds like some marketing, pardon my French, bullshit. But I think when you do the deep work and you get to know who you are, what your passion for life and movement and training is, and you start to integrate that into your purpose of whatever that might be, you want to do it forever. You want to take care of yourself so you can be around forever. So I don't know who coined this. I didn't coin this, but someone along the way told me there's three prongs to really like your health and fitness journey. It's physique, it's performance, and it's health. And I think that mostly everyone gets into fitness because of the third one, because of physique. And it's almost we start backwards. We go after the physical aspects of things, and we want to get there as quick as possible. And we want to do that now more than ever because everything we do is as fast as possible. And our attention span on our reels is 3 seconds. And if I don't get the hook fast enough, I'm not listening to your garbage, whatever it is, right? That's just the society we live in now. And it's made that worse. And so there's people more than ever who are disconnected from their body because they are dissociated with their lives and they don't know how to handle stress. And so going after the physique will put you in a position where you have to have that transformation, where you have to hit that brick wall that I think honestly everyone has to go through at some point to realize there's something I'm missing, like we both did in different ways, but very similarly, to say, I still want to be a high performer. What I'm capable of is now more important to me than ever because my chasing of physique and disregarding the system that is my body and everything that goes into it, now I can't perform. And shit, my health's starting to take a slide. So maybe I need to prioritize health first and then worry more about what my body is capable of. And holy shit, now I don't just look really good, but I feel good too. And there's the re-energizing of myself at almost 40 now, feeling like a teenager again and sleeping like a champ and all of the above. It's like, this is all worth the purpose. So chasing health and performance really is what that transition is all about. And then you realize I have a much better physique and now it's sustainable. Now it's consistent. And so, that's the number one philosophy, with the number two being the human is always the number one variable. And so the person has to be able to buy in with their own personal experiences, and how we communicate as coaches is the most important part of that. And then another important philosophy of mine it goes back to what you mentioned with letters after the name. When we first get into this industry, we worry so much about being respected by our peers because we're just getting started out. So we're going after certifications and qualifications that mean more with just the letters after it, so that we're respected in our own personal community and not necessarily as better coaches to help our clients get better results. And so my huge transformation professionally has been, I don't really care what you see at the end of my name. I care if I'm able to help you, and if my continuing education is going to actually make me a better person and a better coach. Yeah. And I also don't think that we should worry so much, considering a legal aspect is very important. But I think there's a lot of coaches who love to pigeonhole themselves as they're a bodybuilding coach, or they only write program and do macro plans. Like, that's great. Like, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do that. But for a lot of people who need those extra steps, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by not, again, thinking biopsychosocially as far as who's the person or the variable, the human in front of us. Yes. And I'm going to need to connect with them as a human being. So I need to understand human behavior. I need to understand communication skills. It's not just about writing the best program. It's about, if the person's not going to do it because they can't, and I don't know how to make adjustments for their capacity or their tolerance or whatever I'm working with as far as the variables of movement go, then I'm falling short as a coach, and I have to focus on that education piece, which maybe doesn't put letters at the end of my name and doesn't make me look better to my peers. And that's what matters to me more now.
Didn't you say something about this yesterday? Did you say something about this on socials about was it you? The coaches who, what was it? Something along the lines of like, oh, the more of a beginner coach you are, the more you're going to focus on like presenting the mechanics and the education and then the more of like an experienced coach you are, the more you're going to actually just ask the person more questions about themselves. Yeah.
I may have, I mean, it definitely sounds like something I would have said. Oh, maybe, I think we were going back in the DMs. Maybe I said that to you. I may have said that as far as like communicating with your client, asking the questions. I don't know if I posted that though. Maybe I did. I don't know.
Somebody else.
It sounds like something I'd say. I agree.
It was a post. I think it was another person
Okay.
that I was in the space with that I can't remember now, but it hit me. It was kind of like the overcompensation, like the classic bodybuilder who overcompensates by just like building more muscle and more muscle and more muscle, but they can't like make eye contact with you, you know?
Yeah, I get that. Yes.
Like, you know, stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking certifications. And like, I don't even put letters in my bio. Like I could put NASM, CSCS, PRI if I wanted to, but nobody has ever asked me because I'm my way of connecting with people and quote selling myself is connecting with people. And also I actually think that the newer age biomechanic corrective exercise industry that is more modern as opposed to like the old school bodybuilding is actually the worst offender because people get really, I'm going to just say it, functional patterns is like the worst offender in my opinion.
Agreed.
It's not that there's not truth to each modality, but when you're like functional patterns, like this is it, I'm a functional patterns coach, this is what I do, this is what everyone needs, this is all humans. As soon as you see someone, you're going to put them in that box. And like, I think other modalities are a little bit like less faulty, for lack of a better word. Like most coaches are incorporating something like PRI as a part of a program that can help a client, but they're not looking at every client as like, you're a PRI candidate, right? Like they're more integrated, but it like functional patterns is an example. Like all that to say, I think when coaches find a modality, and this is really linked to the self projection of like the thing that saved me is the thing that's going to save everyone. And unfortunately, that is like not true. Like that is faulty, right? So, but that becomes our projection when we aren't conscious of how we emotionally relate to the work that we're doing. So, like if I was saved by functional patterns, now I'm going to project that onto everyone else, and I'm not going to be able to integrate. So, I think when coaches they get into a certain way of educating, they pigeonhole themselves, and then they come into client relationships with this MO, a modus operandi of like already my intention is to do this with the person. They're not actually listening to what the person is expressing about themselves, about their experience, or picking up on data with their movement and their nervous system and their patterns because they're already kind of like unconsciously projecting them into this modality. And I think that's so dangerous. And I think you put it really well when you were in your oscillation season of like, I tried these over toes, I tried this stuff, I tried this stuff, and like
exactly.
all of it helped, but truth be told, there wasn't one thing that fucking fixed me. It was my way of relating with the system as a whole that needed to change. So yeah, like just I love that. I don't really have any questions.
I got one more thing to add, just because it's the main, or I guess a couple more things to add, but it's the main idea that all of this has kind of culminated to, and it piggybacks right off what you were talking about. It's not necessarily about a training system or a training methodology or a training, like the box that you like to put those coaches in. It's the functional patterns, or I only do cars, I only do the FRC stuff. Like it has to be an integrated model with the foundational knowledge of how the human body operates, and also how your body is constantly interacting with an environment where a lot of variables just don't change. And so what can we bring to the table in creating a program and dealing with the human that we know is a constant, like the anatomy that they're dealing with? The structure of their body might be a little bit different, but their anatomy is going to be the same. They're asymmetrical. How is that affecting their system? And what can we educate them on as far as how we're going to slowly peel back the layers of whatever compression they're dealing with and what's bringing about those symptoms? But again, it's a system approach, right? And then in addition to that, first principles, pressure, gravity, things that never go away in the realm of physics. that should be wrapped into how you consider the human is moving. And again, that's not a training system. That's first principles, right? And so I think my own personal methodology has leaned heavily on the biopsychosocial thing, that lens, but also in that, the nervous system is deeply rooted in everything we're doing physically, physiologically, and psychologically. And that needs to be part of the groundwork for a lot of people who are coming to both of us who have these complex movement and I want to say life or emotional, all of it's wrapped up together. And we have to be able to navigate and investigate those things together. So we have to be able to create that relationship. But when it comes down to it, I have the kind of a 3-step process that I follow. I don't even want to call it a 3-step process. So I'd say there's just 3 phases, but it's shaped more like a helix. And I'll explain more of that in a second. We have to restore whatever the body's lacking, whether that be nervous system regulation and capacity, joint motion, and then obviously like how your system adapts to your movement and give you back the gradient that we need, because we all, a lot of times, are high performers. We don't know how to slow down. And so restoring your ability to slow down and have more capacity and not just learn how to empty the stress bucket, but then build the bucket bigger, building that capacity, right? That always is the first step, but it comes in many shapes and forms for whoever's sitting in front of you. But then I think the step that's skipped is actually understanding how the body moves and how the structure of the human in front of you, which does change the shape of the rib cage, the width of the rib cage, all those things. How does that interact with the individual? And then the movement patterns and the history of their exercise. Are they a pole vaulter? Are they a power lifter, right? Like, what are their motor patterns that they've already learned? If we don't spend time in that second stage, which is rebuilding the capacity of your nervous system to handle new patterns with a different mindset. And then we have to get to the point, because I consider myself as a high performance coach or human performance coach, we still have to reinforce those things. If you don't get to a point where you're now handling new intensities and challenging the nervous system and bringing used stress back into the system, then we're going to end up back in restoration phase sooner than we'd like. And that's where that helix comes back in. I don't ever think you leave the restoration period. You never leave taking care of your body and your nervous system, your recovery. It's skills that you build and you get better at it. So you don't have to return to it as often, but it never goes away. And so instead of just going in this linear path of, I'm done with step 1, let me go to step 2. And now I'm just training my ass off again like I used to. It never happens that way. And if it does, it's the oscillation you were describing. And so it's, can I master these skills and then build better movement patterns? Because I still want to deadlift heavy. I still want to sprint. I want to compete personally. I want to compete in like geriatric track meets. I want to be that guy that's like, he just set the record at 85 years old. That's going to be Sean Jacobs at some point. Handlebar mustache, old as hell, bald head, just going, right? That's what I want. So that means that I'm not going to just be doing breath work in my sessions. I'm still going to be doing breath work pre-post. I'm going to down regulate. I'm going to, if I have niggles and things that mess me up, I'm going to know how to address those. But now it's in and out. I know what to do. I know these things. They are skills, and it's a tool belt that I can just rip out instead of being like, I got to take 6 weeks off and do some breath work. No, hit the ground and go back to what you were doing. And that's where the helix comes in. You will always have to restore, because you're still going up. You're still creating a better version of yourself physically, physiologically, and psychologically. But you have to still hit the big rocks of restore, rebuild, and reinforce, because you're going to get to another wall. If you want to keep pushing, you'll get to another wall through that reinforce where you're lifting heavy, you're sprinting, you're trying to gain mass, and you didn't sleep as well or whatever it is. Okay, today I need more restoration. And the education in that process and the self-awareness that's builds about that autonomy and that self-regulation or that auto-regulation, so that you have the capacity and the mental awareness to say, today I need to change my program a little bit. I don't need to go to the gym, or I don't need to not go to the gym and avoid more exercise, but I learned XYZ with my coach, and now I know that I just need to do this move and that move. I need to maybe bring myself down, slow my exhales down, and now I'm back under the squat bar 20 minutes later, as opposed to 20 days or even years later, or you're told by a practitioner that XYZ has happened in your body and now you're out of alignment, so you should never squat again. Fuck no, that's not how we operate.
I just have to like everything you just said. And I love the helix metaphor too.
I like that too. I definitely got that from somebody else. I think I got it from Gunther actually. He said something about a helix. I was like, that sounds really good. I like that. So I love that image, because it's never linear, but it's also not 2D where we're doing this. It's like, no, you're better. You built skills. You're still going.
It's also
it's great.
so much of the like, I have an injury. They say take 6 weeks off, do my PT, do my hip bars. Like, there's an element of like, it's kind of like the time heals all wounds thing. Like, there's an element of passivity, right? Like,
Yes,
you're
agreed.
in relationship with your body and your life. You're just, this happened, let me give it time. This happened, let me give it time. It needs to be a very conscious reconstruction of the way that you're relating, which is going to require learning how to listen to the dialogue your body is presenting. And in the stumbling of, okay, maybe I should have done less today, maybe I could have done more today, that stumbling is how you rebuild the dialogue, how you build relationship, which when you're building a relationship with a person, you have ruptures, you have repairs, you have ruptures, you have repairs. And those ruptures and repairs are the things that build trust, which is what your body doesn't have with you if your nervous system is hypersensitized, right? So like when I'm talking to clients who are just starting out and they're like, I think I overdid it today, or I should have done more. It's like, actually, they feel like they're not on track with the perfection of this program until they've like mastered that. And I'm like, no, that's the process though.
That's it. That's the journey. And that's never going to go away.
You will continue to be doing until the end of your life is like,
yep.
How do I tease apart? No, this is true exhaustion. I need full rest versus I'm in the gray area. I need mobilization, but I need to be conscious versus I can push to my best today. Where that's a large gray area. How do I learn to navigate that? Because that in itself, I believe, like, I don't think people are lazy. I don't think they're undisciplined. I don't think they need a kick in the ass. I think that gray area, not knowing how to navigate it, also from a nervous system conscious place, because if you're in a collapse, of course it's going to be hard to motivate. Your nervous system is doing what it's designed to do. You're like a possum who's playing dead in the street because somebody just scared it. Like, your body is responding the way it was meant to respond. Brute force is not going to fix that response. So, yeah, like, how do we come back to a place where I kind of just lost my train of thought. But we're building relationship with our bodies and ourselves.
Yes, 100%. And that's a skill set that never goes away.
And if we're not an active participant in that process, which an example would be like, my PT said this, I'm just going to do that, then we aren't ever going to, one, get out of the place that we keep ending up. Yeah. But we're still like, we're not experiencing the fruits of any of that labor, because that's what we want from all of this. We want to move better. We want to feel better. We want to look better. We can connect more to ourselves and the people around us. And that's what we want. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like, that is such a good visual.
Yeah. And then I love what you said, and we can end on this because this is kind of the culmination of my story. This is the end point of everything for me. Or should I say the beginning, but you'll understand more of what I mean. But you just talked about the skill set of integrating this into your life so it becomes a way of life for you, and you build these skills. So like the Helix, like you don't have to wait as long because you're just more in tune with your body. And so all of this whole journey culminated for me about a year ago when I was on a survival TV show, and about a weekend I fell into the campfire and fell into fire, boiling water, and had to be medevac to a hospital. Spent 4 weeks in a hospital. About 25% of my body was second-degree burns, and I had to learn how to walk again. So after that whole journey of get rid of the heart palpitation, testosterone's normal, now I have better mobility, now I'm into my nervous system, like, okay, I got to start from ground one, or like level one again, or not even again, more than I've ever had to. Let's say that, right? Like I had to learn how to walk again and learn how to squat again, body weight, all of the above. The biggest burn covered my left leg from my thigh down to my foot. So it was one large scab across my knee and my ankle, and I couldn't bend it. So I literally had to learn how to walk again. But the biggest piece of that was the gray area that existed in that process for me, because I had never navigated that before, but because I had built the skills going through this process for myself and learning how to connect to my nervous system and recover better and auto-regulate my training. Now going through the physical therapy side of things and the rehab, I blew through that because I knew more about my body than the practitioners who were telling me what to do. And so I wasn't blindly following those things. I'm like, now I know how to make those decisions. And I had to rebuild a lot of stuff, right? I can't walk on my left, so now I'm leaning on my right, and then I put too much pressure on my left. And so all of these things back and forth. But I'm in about 2 weeks, it'll be a full year since then. And I'm 101%, because obviously learning a lot about myself and life and my life in that process has made me a better individual. I wouldn't change a thing, because now I have a full experience from the ground up, no pun intended, literally where I had to start over, and I already had a lot of the skills that I need or that I work with my clients on. So it accelerated everything. I'm past where I was before this happened with a giant scar on my leg, but I healed faster and I recovered faster, and I didn't take a lot of breaks, and I didn't have to take a lot of time off. And of course, I dealt with niggles and injuries and my body responding in different ways in that gray area, but I handled the gray area differently because I had those skills. And so that's kind of that full circle moment of like, I've been doing what I needed to do. Maybe, the universe was just preparing me for this. And you ask for a challenge, right? We talk about the comfort zone. But again, I had to slow down even further because my comfort zone is going hard. And I was doing that, and I was out in the, 200 calories a day, 2 hours of sleep a night. I'm loving it out there, Robinson Crusoe style, right? But then you come out of that and it's like, I have to slow down again and do it in a way I've never done it before. And I'm so grateful for everything I did before that, because this last year of my life has been the best yet.
Hell yeah. And it's like slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right?
I love that. 100%. That's it.
Of learning
That's it.
how to do it differently, it's always going to feel like a regression, but then you're going to blast off out of it. So even when I start with clients, like a lot of them don't want to go as slow as we're going. But I'm like, it's
relatable.
You could have signed up with anyone else. You made the decision to be here for a reason. We're going to do this the right way.
Yep.
And then one last thing that was important, I think, that you said was like our goal as trainers, as practitioners, is to build trust in our clients with themselves and their bodies. That means they also have the ability to come to us and say no. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be your guru, and I'm not supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be someone that like babysits you, tells you what to do. I think people are, and this is we go back to like developmental trauma for this, attachment style, all the stuff. But people are looking to hire someone who's going to like be their drill sergeant, their parent, or their like discipliner, and they think that that's what they need. But they only need that in the absence of this relationship that can be built with themselves, their bodies.
I agree. They're looking for that external source as opposed to taking responsibility for their own, because they don't know how to do that. Never had to do that before. Exactly. But that ownership is part of the process. I agree.
And then when you build clients who have that, you become like it becomes a collaborative process that is way more fulfilling for both parties, because
I agree.
That was part of the reason I hated being a trainer so much back 6 years ago, because I was like, I don't feel like I want my job to be just like telling people what the fuck to do and getting them off their ass. Like, that's not what I'm here for.
Same.
But I needed to have clients that had that relationship, and now I understand many of them need help building it. So that's really what it's all about. But that was juicy. The conversation.
There's a lot of nuggets in there.
Good. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Sean Jacobs, everybody. Follow him up on Instagram. And we'll be posting.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Meg.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, have a good rest of your day, and we'll chat soon.
You too. See ya.